so long is like alchemy.
Got to enjoy our local home telecast, and they were very quick to remind us of Klay's record-setting three-point performance earlier this season against the Bulls and how he just likes playing the Bulls, man. It's funny because, you know, in the Tibbs era, they were such a grinding defensive team. I bet you he didn't feel that way against that team. You see Wendell Carter Jr., Larry Markkinen back after that dislocated elbow in the preseason. KD, they're wearing the Chinese heritage uniforms. And that man, Zach LaVine, the hollow numbers that he's been putting up this year. I don't know, man. I don't think Zach LaVine can be a starter. You see Steph rocking the heart of the city Curry sixes. More on those as the game goes on. Early on, Klay picked up right where he left off. Bang, bang. Zach LaVine, I think he's such a good athlete that his fundamentals and effort are just lacking. That's the bottom line with LaVine. Klay, again, yeah, this is in the first minute of the game, 2 threes. You might want to scout him, right? He just set a record on you. The Bulls are kind of disgusting. And honestly, I felt a little sorry for the crowd. You pay all this money, and it was literally garbage time, really from the start of the game. There's Wendell Carter Jr. out of Duke. I like him as a big. There's a lot of individual players that are intriguing on this team. Klay again. You hear that word culture being thrown around a lot within sports organizations, and it may be a bit cliche, but the Bulls truly have to change the culture because they've got a bunch of young players that it could really ruin their futures. Again, out in transition, Klay, 100 miles per hour, Looney the cleanup. That was a dime by KD, who's been passing like crazy lately. Quick timeout from Jim Boylan, who has taken over for Hoiberg. Now, here's something you don't see every day. Chris Dunn, known as a defender, just picks Steph's pocket. But if you watch here in transition, he's going to roll the right ankle over. And remember, this kid lost a tooth in Chicago last year. He is absolutely injury prone. KD makes him pay on the other end. But I truly believe in injury prone. And it's a lot of it's the way, playing style, body type, the way guys step, their gait has a lot to do with it. Dunn is always chipped out. Speaking of injuries, Boogie Cousins is 1 week away from his debut. You know I'm going to go live on that Friday night against the Clippers. We got a nice schedule this coming week despite this kind of free week here. You're going to see Looney the and one. Now, you remember in the offseason when I talked about Steph finishing more like Nash? This was very Nash-like. He steps back like he's going to put up a floater or a fade, and then he just rocks and finishes with the right hand. Watch it. The key is the footwork, and he steps back up, and then he rocks him to sleep. There's Jim Boylan, who is kind of a tyrant, and we've heard all the stories about them boycotting practice, getting beat by 50. The NBA may have to, step in. This is just disgraceful, honestly. Look at the ball movement here. The ball was flying around for the second game in a row, and it's kind of hard to gauge considering the two opponents, but just look at this team. Wendell Carter Jr., one of their better young prospects. They just can't execute. They don't play hard enough. They're embarrassing. You know what's underrated with Klay's game? His hands. He catches everything. And I wonder what the correlation is between good hands and being a good shooter. Looney, decent hands, very patient, as if he had any choice with the little jump hook over the 7-footer. Dunn, again, getting his hand in the cookie jar. I thought that was maybe the best effort of the night from this Bulls team. Quinn in the corner as Looney playing young Draymond, like I said, on the short roll. Iguodala here, just look at the patience. And LaVine, look at the effort. Steph hasn't been shooting the same since he came back from the injury, but one thing he's been doing very well quietly is defend. I've noticed a better effort. He's been taking a lot of charges, which makes me nervous, but I think he's been much more dialed in defensively. And then Jonas ain't afraid to mess with his percentage. Bombs it off glass. What is that, like a 50-footer maybe, to end the quarter? And that was, I think, the biggest deficit after one quarter, the second biggest in franchise history. Fitz was, half erect, rattling that stat off. And then take a look at this kid, 4 years out of Villanova. And what came to my mind was, he's a friend of the family, right? What mob ties got this kid into the league? Now, I don't know if he's any good. He just looks like he's a made kid, right? More Klay, more bang bang. And I think the real test for Klay to truly be back is this next upcoming week. If he can continue to shoot well against legit teams, I'll officially announce Klay's back. Bobby Portis, probably the most fight. Him and Dunn play the hardest for the Bulls. I'm not sure why he's coming off the bench. There was no sense of any threat during this game, so they got a little loose. They started throwing the ball around on some possessions. Here's Antonio Blankley, undrafted scorer. I don't know about y'all, but I ain't leaving the weed on the coffee table around him. Just saying. This is the official second half of the season, and we got a little loose, like I said, here in the second quarter after the huge first turnover, and I liked Kerr's quick stoppage of it. I think everybody, including the coaching staff, needs to start to, switch into second and third gear as we head into the back half of the season. Klay was ridiculous. His balance, and it looks like he's back. Again, I just want to see him do it against legit NBA defense. The deception, Livingston, look at him use his feet to hesitate, and then the lane parts too easy. And then I know everybody was publicizing the 4 dribbles that last game. I could have sworn he dribbled more than that on one possession, but he took 3 dribbles there off the bounce, and then look who it is. Robin Lopez enters the game in some knee-high softball socks and goes right to work in the post. And obviously, we are rumored to be interested in this dude for the buyout. He did play I don't know if this is just a normal occurrence or because of the garbage time or not. What's crazy to me is why anybody would go under a screen on our backcourt, ever. I'll give up layup after layup before I go under a screen. LaVine out in transition, and that's just something that the Bulls don't do enough. Jim and Bob alluded to. They just don't run. In the half court, I've never seen more guys get to the middle of the paint and then not be able to do anything with it. So their pace, their style compared to their talent doesn't match, and there's just a lot of bad juju around the organization. I'll tell you one thing I'd correct. I'd get this kid a lot more shots than Zach LaVine, or at least balance out the shot distributing. They need to invest in Markkanen over LaVine, even though LaVine's the big money player. Steph started to get going here as we headed into the half. And here's the problem. You see these outbursts from LaVine. He's so smooth and fluid, and he can heat check, right? But he doesn't play defense. He doesn't play hard enough. It's just, you're going to have a hard time him being your lead guard. Steph, you can see him holding his head. He's just so susceptible to getting loose with the ball, especially when we have a lead. Then he gets a knee, and that made me nervous because whenever a guy de-weights off the leg and kind of lets the leg hang, I was like, oh, is that a hammy? But it looked like it was a Charlie horse or a dead leg from LaVine, who says, my bad. By the way, LaVine is a lot smaller than I thought. He's of Steph's size. The way he gets up, you think he's 6'6", 6'7". Look at Steph on the offensive glass. That's unacceptable from your 7-footer Markkanen, just getting the ball taken from a 6'3" guard. Out in transition, another lob. Would there be any type of life or fight out of this Bulls team? This is what you love that Steph already has. He already has the old man game. He's never relied on athleticism, right? So he's going to age better than, say, LaVine, who's all athleticism. And he started to heat check here as the half wound down. I believe he had 20 in the corner. Watch Iguodala recognize this and give him a little stunt. He makes him uncomfortable. He gets into his pocket, right? You can't let a guy like LaVine dance with the ball. He'll hit incredible shots. You got to get up into him, disrupt his rhythm. And then Steph slips in the new red Currys and pops the ankle. Now, you sneakerheads know the different colorways, the traction is different. For whatever reason, when you colorize the rubber on a bottom of a shoe, some of them don't have as good of traction. So I'm hoping that the reds and these different colorways, I've already heard reports that the Curry 6s are not holding up with the traction. That could be a problem. Steph this time in the corner. Then it's just like changing lanes on the freeway. You slow down, let the traffic go by, and then get to exactly where you want to be. Now, the trend the last week or so has been the ball movement, right? How about 38 assists again tonight? Looney the beneficiary there. And the game was just dead in the water until this happened. Watch Portis and KD here. You see KD hit him with the swing move there to get inside on him, and Portis, tweaked his shoulder. He goes and sits down in live ball, and he starts to talking that shit to KD. And I believe there was a T, given out here. And Portis, remember, he's the one that two-pieced Mirotic and sent him to New Orleans, broke his jaw, had that shit wired shut for like 2 months. So he's not afraid to throw hands, but I love the way the Warriors responded to this. I love the way, and it just gave a little bit of juice and intrigue into this game that was dead. Right away, next possession, KD's like, watch the feet, Rook. Nasty jab step into the jumper, and you could just see he was moving different. But I love this from Draymond. Draymond immediately got super physical with Portis, just to let him know, you can't talk to nobody like that on this team. And so Draymond picked up a bunch of fouls here in the next 5 minutes, even gets a T here, but he did his job in being, the Charles Oakley, if you will, the defender, the bully, the goon of this championship team, and letting Portis know you ain't punking none of us. And team-wide, I think everybody played intense and physical on Portis the rest of the way, even though the game was never competitive, just to send a message. Steph, he was just playing at his own speed, and the Matador defense from the Bulls definitely helped that. Outlet pass, the dime. KD's been super unselfish, y'all. You have to admit. And I think KD really likes getting shots for guys that can't get their own shots. Cook, Bell, right, and Loon. Now, he'll have to remain dynamic. It's a balancing act, but right now he's been in assist mode and kind of just sharing the ball. Again, a rip down. They're going to roof Portis to get out in transition again. And Steph, a little inaccurate. You'd have loved to see that get above the rim, but they were running fast. And then as if Steph hadn't made us nervous enough in this game with a couple of tweaks, right? This happens. Runs to the corner. Cut baseline. He's going to get it back and then take a look. Falls on a water bottle, then tries to get up on the wet floor and falls back down. So it was like, sheesh, get this dude out of the game already, right? I must confess, I was disappointed. I wanted to see Jacob Evans rather than Derrickson, but I guess Derrickson is up and Evans is down in Santa Cruz. So Derrickson gets the fourth quarter extendo time, and then this happens. Lopez auditioning for the squad with the 3-ball. Watch Derrickson's late footwork. Now, the pass wasn't that accurate, but he stepped to it late, and therefore it was an air ball. It's all in the feet for the shooters. Repko with a nice touchdown pass to Quinn. And here's the thing, Quinn, I don't think he could probably even get above the rim. But KD and them are heckling him. They're like, boo, we want the dunk. Quinn, we want the dunk. So good times for everybody at Oracle, except for perhaps Clay. I think Clay had some gas, and KD had to cover up. Look at Clay. He knows. He's been letting them go all fourth quarter on the bench, forcing these dudes to cover up. All right, enough bathroom humor, Alk. Here we go. I guess the story of garbage time was this kid, Jordan Bell. I don't think I've seen him hit this many jumpers. He was working it from all little spots on the floor. Draymond, take note. No, I kid, but I discovered, shout out to whoever told me that Bell's truly left-handed, and it makes so much sense because you can kind of see it in his release, but despite that, he shoots it right-handed. And look at him. I mean, have you ever seen him shoot this many jumpers? That was promising from Bell, who probably isn't going to get much time moving forward with Boogie's return. KD, like I said, he loves when the young players get buckets. After this trouncing at Oracle Arena, we got the Mavs Sunday, and here's the story out of Dallas, y'all. Watch JJ Barea. Jeff Teague comes down on the back of his ankle here, and I believe it's a torn Achilles. And Barea has just been such a special player and a huge role for them this year. Not that they're winning a ton, but he's keeping them in a lot of games. He blows his Achilles in the fourth last night in Minnesota. So Minnesota, under their new coach, D Rose back, Wiggins, everybody's rejuvenated. Towns putting up numbers. I have my eye on Minnesota as not a threat, but I think they're going to contend for a playoff spot. I think they've just been rejuvenated. I had mentioned that in that last OKC cut I gave y'all. So down the stretch, Barea goes down, and it's Luka Doncic time, man, because Berea's the other guy who has the ball in his hands down the stretch, either him or Smith Jr., and Luka just continued to do work at his own pace, man. Then the hesitation, the size, pause. But his size, once he gets to the paint, that's what really allows him to play slower. If he was 6'5", he couldn't get away with it. And if Minnesota can just play hard, they have enough talent. That's what makes me optimistic. They have the talent. Can they play hard? Out inbounds, Taj gets the steal, and the rookie just doesn't value the possession. He tries to go behind the back and gives the ball right back to the Mavericks. And Luka the Don does what he does. You don't think he's going to pull up, Cat? Smarten up. That's what he does. Take a look at the turnover again, though. You got to value the possession. Understand you're up one in basically a one-possession game, and he tries to throw that up there, and Luka makes them pay with the 3-ball. So Dallas ends up winning this game on the road, and they have a very good home record. So this game Sunday should be fun. I'm out, y'all. I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.